Call me Jameer the way I'm about to Gibbs y'all some content. Word up. So, today, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be doing my top 15 running backs in the NFL going into the 2024 season, baby. All right. Yeah, so I base this off half-point PPR, although I will say some of my personal biases certainly came into play here, but, we'll talk through those. You guys don't have to agree with every decision that I make. That's the beauty of the football world. People are allowed to have different opinions, and you're allowed to have conversations with people about those different opinions. So if you disagree, leave me a comment without being a... Sweet. I'm going to start off with some honorable mentions here. First and foremost, Alvin Kamara. I think that might have set some people that he's not on my list, but he just doesn't quite have the rushing production that he once had. He was averaging under 4 yards per carry this year, and, I get it. I get that was never his bread and butter, but, he's never even rushed for 1,000 yards in a single season. I understand that, but I just think for him to keep the majority of the touches, he's going to need to be a little better than that, right? Like, what's stopping them from bringing Kendre Miller out there, who I love as a prospect, and, he was pretty injured last year, unfortunately, but I think that he's good, and I think that if Kamara continues to be lackluster in, the rushing department, then he will probably see a little bit more time. And on top of that, Alvin Kamara is either 28 or 29, so he's getting old. That's damn near ancient running back years. Not really, but I love AK, but I couldn't bring myself to put him on this list, all right? We'll just package these two together. Ramondre and Rachaad White. I really like both of them as players, but they just, Ramondre was injured and not good last year, but I loved him the season before that. And Rachaad White, he had good fantasy season, put up some good numbers, but he's also kind of a volume merchant. He wasn't very efficient. I think he was also averaging 3.9 yards a carry, and they just brought Bucky Irving in. So I don't think that Bucky Irving's going to get significant workload unless Rachaad White goes down, but you never know. I just don't think he's quite talented enough to be in this top 15 list, right? Because that sounds like a lot of players, and then when you sit down and do this, you're like, oh my god, this is so difficult. Who am I about to leave off this? And one more honorable mention is Nicholas Chubb. He's amazing. All right, you guys don't get up in arms with me about this one. I can't put him on this list after that disgusting injury that he suffered last year. And we all know that he's suffered a few major injuries. I believe one in college and one possibly his second season, early in his career with the Browns. I can't remember exactly when, but he's had some gruesome injuries, and he is also getting up there in running back age. So I just need to see him on the field performing like old Nick Chubb before I am able to put him on this list. All right? I love him. Guys, don't get mad at me about that one, okay? All right. And coming in at number 15 is your boy, James Cook. I really like James Cook. I love Dalvin Cook. I got 2 of his jerseys. And, they play very similarly, so it's hard for me to not love James Cook. I think James Cook is a bit more of a pass-catching back than Dalvin. Not quite as great of a pure rusher, but, they're still both great players. Anyways, enough Dalvin. But James Cook, so he was 4th in rushing yards last year at 122 yards. Did I just say 1,122 yards. And he was averaging 4.7 yards per carry, and he had a total of 1,567 yards per scrimmage, which is pretty damn impressive, right? He's great at forcing missed tackles, not so great after contact, which, same with Dalvin. He was never great after contact. But where I pull back with him is only 2 rushing touchdowns last year is so brutal. And he did have 6 total. He had 4 receiving touchdowns, but when you have a 6'5" monster like Josh Allen at quarterback position, they're going to give him all of the goal line work. And when they didn't, they gave it to Latavius Murray for some fucking reason. Who knows? I don't know. But I just think that James Cook is great, but as far as fantasy goes, he can be a little underwhelming. You know, if these were my own personal rankings, he would definitely be higher, but you need some more touchdowns out of your starting running back, right? So who knows? You know, when Joe Brady came in the middle of last season, he did start to see more work and more production. So hopefully that can keep up. Hopefully this new scheme, you know, favors him. But we'll see. Love him as a player, but couldn't bring myself to put him any higher than 15. In fact, I almost had him as an honorable mention. So on to the next one. I'm sorry. And at number 14 is going to be Aaron Jones. I've definitely said this in a couple of my other videos, but he was like one of my favorite Packers ever. I loved watching him so much. He was able to break open a game and just completely change the course of that game. His big playability is undeniable. You know, he's great after contact. He's great at making missed tackles. Let's see. 26 missed tackles in 11 games. That's pretty impressive. And he was injured for a good majority of those games. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year. But you know, that brings me to the main concern is injuries. He's certainly suffered his fair share of injuries. And the thing about the Packers, which I will mention this again later in the video, but they always have a committee running back, right? Even when Aaron Jones was at his absolute peak, fucking AJ, God, I just blanked out his name, but AJ Dillon was still getting like 10 carries per game, right? So Aaron Jones didn't really have all that much tread on his tire, to be real. Like, Josh Jacobs is 26, Aaron Jones is 28, but Josh Jacobs has more rushing attempts in his career significantly than Aaron Jones, which is pretty interesting. But I think that the Vikings might do a little less of a committee. I mean, they never throw in their RB2 or 3s into the mix. It's basically like last year, it was either Madison, or when Madison was out, or when they gave up on him by the end of the season, then it was Ty Chandler, or there was the one Cam Akers game, you know. So we'll see. I really hope the Vikings don't overuse him and kind of just mix in Ty Chandler and possibly Cam Akers. I saw they re-signed him today pending a physical. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a tough ask for a 28-year-old running back to stay healthy. And on top of that, the other thing that worries me about Aaron Jones is the Vikings' run blocking unit just is not good. Like, Alexander Madison was not great last year. I understand that, but that run blocking unit did him literally zero favors. Zero favors. And the same with Dalvin Cook in 2022. I mean, Dalvin Cook had like a few big games, a few huge plays that really swayed the course of the game. But aside from that, his yards per attempt, I want to say, were either like right at 4, like 4.2, or slightly below. So hopefully the Vikings run blocking unit can figure it out a little bit and cut Aaron Jones and others some slack. But we will see. At number 13, we got Josh Jacobs. So he is kind of a divisive player this year. There seems to be a lot of people who believe that fucking dog hair, who believe that he is just last year Josh Jacobs. That's all you're gonna get. You know, what was it? 3.5 yards per carry, 805 yards. Some people think that that's who he is now, and then some people think that 2022 Josh Jacobs, that he's somehow going to magically return to that form. And I don't agree with either of those. I mean, last year was clearly an anomaly. He showed up to training camp, not ready to play. He was not in shape. And 2022 was also clearly an anomaly. And the main reason for that is because, like I said, he led the league in carries, or he was either number 2 behind Derrick Henry. I can't remember which one it was. But going back to what I just said about Aaron Jones, it's Green Bay, y'all. They're going to run out of a committee. A.J. Dillon's still there, and they just drafted Marshawn Lloyd in, I believe, round 4. So if you guys think that he's going to be getting that amount of volume again, you are sorely mistaken, unfortunately. I think that he is going to have a good season. Absolutely. I think that he still has plenty of gas in the tank, but I don't think that the volume is going to be there to get him to really anywhere close to that 2022 season. So that's why I got him at 13 and not any higher. I think some people might be mad about those rankings, but I can't convince myself in any facet that he's going to be 2022 Josh Jacobs. That was a Raiders team that was abusing the hell out of him because he was coming to the end of his contract. They were like, well, he's going to be out here at the end of the year, so we might as well just fucking use him as much as possible, right? So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but he's a good player. He deserves to be on this list. Don't know if he deserves to be any higher than that. Maybe a couple spots. Okay, now at number 12. I think this is also a bit of a divisive pick. Kenneth Walker, all right? I know that he didn't have a great season last year, but let's think about this for a second. Do we think that Kenneth Walker and Geno Smith just like magically had shitty seasons at the same time for no reason? No, it's because that O-line was horrible and injured and horribly injured, right? So I think that if they can improve that O-line even like a bit, maybe a bit more than a bit, like a double bit. Sorry, that was so stupid. Ignore that. But yeah, no. Battle line did not do him any favors. I have a lot more faith in him this season, right? He's a really versatile player. He's not quite like Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler type with the versatile pass catching, but he can catch the pass, and he's a super angry rusher, which I love about him. So, I mean, he's put up 9 touchdowns both of his first 2 years, so that's pretty great. You love to see that from a fantasy perspective. And guys, it's the sophomore slump, baby. It can't be avoided. All right, just let him get into his junior year, and he'll bounce back. Okay. Oh, a couple more things. He had the 5th highest most missed tackles, which, hell yeah, dude. You love to see that. Absolutely. And they got a brand new OC in Ryan Grubb this year. So hopefully he can figure out a way to, tie that O-line unit together and get some more production out of Kenneth Walker, because I think he is way more talented than what his last season's stats showed. Number 11 on the list is Devon Achane. All right, I had a super, super hard time with this one. I'm not going to lie, because, dude, 7.5 yards per carry, like, yeah, that is truly amazing, but that also came on 108 carries, right? If he truly does step up to, kind of be the Raheem Mostert of last year, maybe they swap places this year. I mean, that's going to come back down to earth, right? It's inevitable. But he kind of worries me because he had his injury concerns last year, right? He missed a few games. Faux show, I think he started 11 games. Could be wrong about that, but it was some around there. So low-key, Devon Achane, he kind of reminds me of J.K. Dobbins. All right. First season, J.K. Dobbins was mostly healthy, a little bit more healthy than Devon Achane. He played in 15 games, although he technically only started 1. And he had 6.0 yards per attempt, 134 attempts on 805 yards, whereas Devon Achane was, I can't remember the exact yardage, but it was 108 attempts and 7.5 yards per carry. So he was more efficient than J.K. Dobbins, but it worries me with his injuries that he's just going to struggle if he takes on more of a lead role. And, like I said, he's bound to fall back down to earth a little bit, but I can't figure out how much that's going to be or if he's going to be an absolute superstar. So this ranking could be completely wrong, complete garbage, but I need to see another season from Devon Achane before I can move him up higher than that. 105 attempts just doesn't do it for me, but it's great because he has some pass catching ability. He's a pretty versatile player, and he was first in yards after contact with 4.94 yards after contact, which that's a pretty impressive metric, right? That kind of shows you that he is a really quality running back and that this isn't just some fluke. But we'll just have to see how much injuries truly affect him and how much he comes back down to earth. I need to see a little bit more. All right. Next, at number 10, we got Pacheco, Isaiah Pacheco. So I like Pacheco. Hard not to, he kind of has a great story. Well, I don't know if great is the right word. It's a tragic story, but it's really inspiring, right? And he runs like an absolute madman. Dude is trying to beat up the fucking turf as he's running along. But yeah, I really feel like he came into his own last year. He looked really good. He had 935 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns in 14 games, which is pretty impressive. He certainly would have eclipsed well over 1,000 had he played a full season. And he averaged 4.6 yards per carry, which is pretty good. As long as you're above 4, I tend to not care about that stat too much unless you're Devon Achane and rocking 7.5 yards per carry. So I think that as a whole, the Chiefs are just going to be better this year. Their offense, at least. They brought in some weapons and receivers, and I think that that'll just relieve some pressure from Pacheco. I think that that'll allow for bigger play opportunities, and who knows? Just a better offense is better for everybody on that offense all around, right? It just allows it to function better as a whole. And, I think that he's going to get quite a bit more receptions this year with Jerick McKinnon gone. Jet was kind of just a one-trick pony. He wasn't a rusher whatsoever. If he was on the field, they were probably throwing some little screen to him or whatever. So hopefully Pacheco will get a little bit more volume in receptions this year with him gone, although he is still a free agent, so who knows if the Chiefs re-sign him. But yeah, I like Pacheco as a player, and he's on a great team in, a not-so-great offense last year, but they have the best quarterback in the league, and they brought in more weapons, so it's going to be a better offense this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing him thrive in that situation. At number 9 is Travis Etienne, and I really like him as a player, right? You can look at his stats and look at the 3.8 yards per carry last year and be a little bit turned off. Definitely understand that, but that Jaguars O-line was bad. Let's see. Do I have it written down? No, I don't, but they were definitely a bottom 5 ranked O-line last year, so that did not help him whatsoever. And on top of that, he has no other running back on that team to cut him some slack every once in a while. It's helpful for those running backs to catch a quick breather and have somebody else come in and do a little bit of work every once in a while. Not a fuck ton, but taking a little bit of the pressure off of them is definitely very helpful. And I think that 3.8 yards per carry kind of reflects that. I think Tank Bigsby was technically the RB2 most of the year, and he was god-awful, just terrible. So even with that 3.8 yards per carry, he still led the league in forced missed tackles, which is very impressive. It really is. That's a stat that you have to be truly talented to be at the top of the room with. It's not yards per attempt where you can be Miles Sanders, and as long as you're behind the Eagles O-line, you're going to be leading the league in yards per attempt, right? You have to actually be talented to lead the league in forced missed tackles. But yeah, even with the poor yards per carry last year, he still rushed for over 1,000 yards, and he has a pass catching upside. So I think that he's very, very valuable when it comes to fantasy. He might not be the most talented in the league, but he is still a really, really good player, and I think he's being a little bit undervalued right now just because of really that 3.8 yards per carry. When you watch Travis Etienne, he's a fun running back to watch. You can definitely tell that he's got it. He's got that it factor. He's a dog, all right? Okay, and then at number 8, we got Sir King Derrick Henry. Yes, sir. Like, guys, I know he's getting old. I get that. I know he rushed for under 4 yards per carry last year. But that Titans O-line, they were ranked 32. Dead last. Dead last. Even if you're Derrick Henry, you still need at least a serviceable O-line to give you some friggin' room to run, right? Like that dead last is just inexcusable. That is truly horrible. And guess what? The Ravens, they have a top 5 O-line. All right? That's going to be crazy to watch. Derrick Henry behind a really good O-line. I mean, we haven't seen that in a few years. I can't speak on how good the Titans O-line was in 2020. I don't remember at this point. All right, I'm sorry, but it's going to be great to watch him behind a good O-line again. And yes, I do understand that, Lamar is going to steal some of the rushing upside from him, for sure. But I really don't think that is that big of an issue, because I think that really having Lamar as a rushing threat at quarterback and then Derrick Henry in the backfield, I think that just opens that offense up even more for even more options, even more plays, even more things that either Lamar or Derrick can do. So I think that's going to be a more versatile offense, and they're going to be able to do fun things with it because, I mean, come on. Gus Edwards scored 9 rushing touchdowns last year. Derrick Henry can easily do that. He's going to be behind such a good O-line. Like, I'm excited to watch it. I think that he's being undervalued. And yes, I understand he's getting old. That's why he's not higher on this list. Okay. At number 7, this one was definitely tough for me. Had a hard time ranking this guy. Kyren Williams. He was awesome in fantasy last year. He was a sick week 1 waiver wire pickup, and it was really cool to just watch him kind of come out of nowhere after really not doing anything at all his rookie season. Yeah, I mean, he led the league in rushing yards per game, which is really impressive when, Christian McCaffrey's in the league, right? And he also had 5 yards per carry, which is definitely impressive. He had 1,144 rushing yards last year and 12 touchdowns in 12 games. That's extremely impressive, right? I mean, he was averaging almost 100 yards a game. Theoretically, if he would have played all 17 games, he could be sitting right at like 1,700 rushing yards. I mean, that's good. That's real good, all right? Christian McCaffrey led the league in rushing yards with 1,459. Which, I mean, Christian McCaffrey definitely has more of a pass-catching upside than Kyren, but it's not like it doesn't exist for Kyren. It absolutely does. He can make plays, whether it's rushing or receiving. But the only reason I can't list him higher is injury concerns, for one, which I hate. I hate that. I hate it. I wish I could just rank players with that not in mind, but that would be dumb. Okay, injuries are a part of the game. You have to take that into consideration. And it's also concerning that the Rams took Blake Corum with a day 2 pick. The way the Rams use their running backs is it's kind of interesting to me. They literally just like run them into the ground until they die, and then they bring out some other dude and run them into the ground, and I don't know. They can just be kind of hard to predict sometimes, but it seems like as long as the job is Kyren's, then he's going to be that dude, right? So hopefully it stays that way. With those concerns aside, he would 100% be higher on this list, but I just can't do it, unfortunately. Wish I could. He's sick. He's super sick, but I just can't. At number 6, we got Jahmyr Gibbs. 5.2 yards per carry last year. Mwah, beautiful. Love that. And let's be real. If you watch Jahmyr Gibbs, talk about passing the eye test. That dude passes the eye test like nobody's business. He is such a fun player to watch. I enjoy the hell out of him. And I don't like the Lions very much, so that's kind of saying something, okay? Yeah, he almost hit 1,000 yards, 945 rushing yards last year, 1,261 yards from scrimmage, and 11 total touchdowns. And he was 3rd in the league in rushes of 15 yards or more. And, I really wish I could put Jameer higher, but until David Montgomery is not there, I can't. David Montgomery is still good. Okay, this isn't like a fucking Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift situation where it's like, okay, DeAndre Swift looks really good, but yeah, let's just pull out Jamal Williams on the 2-yard line every single time. Like, no, both Jameer and David Montgomery are very good running backs. Obviously, Jameer's way better, but Demont is still a good player. Okay, so until he's gone, I can't put him higher, and I wanted to so bad. I stared at this piece of paper for like 30 minutes, just like, okay, how can I justify putting him higher? But I can't do it, unfortunately. But I'm excited to see what the future holds for Jameer. He is awesome. Number 12 overall pick that kind of shocked everyone, and then he went out there. It took a couple weeks, but he went out there and proved to everybody why he was worthy of that 12th overall pick, which is fucking badass, dude. Okay. Now, number 5, I have Jonathan Taylor. I don't think that he's ever going to quite get back to his 2021 form, especially with Anthony Richardson there, who he knows how to run the football, that's for damn sure. But with that being said, I think this kind of goes back to my Lamar and Derek argument, where I think that kind of just opens the offense up more. Like, yes, he's going to see some fewer touches, but I think that it's not necessarily entirely a bad thing. There's some upside to that, right? And on top of that, as a whole, he's in a way better situation. I mean, he had that stupid contract dispute at the beginning of last year, and Jim Irsay was just fucking talking out of his ass and being a dumb fuck. So I get it. He probably wasn't super enthused to play for the Colts last year, and let's see, how many games did he play? I don't remember. Yeah, so, I mean, he only started 7 games last year. I think those first 3 where he was back, he was kind of still chilling behind Zach Moss a little bit. But, I mean, he put up 741 yards and 7 touchdowns with a long play, his longest play being 49 yards, and another 150 yards in the receiving game. And now with Zach Moss gone and out of there, I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be real good. Like, I think he has potential to finish top 3 as a running back, but I think that with Anthony Richardson there, I don't think he's going to be able to lead the league in rushing yards again like he did in 2021, unfortunately, as much as I like him as a player. But yeah, so he was averaging 3.12 yards after contact, which is his 16th best, so nothing crazy, but pretty dang good. And 4.4 yards per carry. And I think that, with him being healthy now and having a full season to rest, I think that we're going to see a good version of Jonathan Taylor. Certainly better than last year. I have very high belief in that. Okay, so at number 4, we got Saquon Barkley. I have a bit of a weird relationship with Saquon Barkley because I drafted him, I want to say it was with my 2nd overall pick in 2020 in redraft leagues, after he had his amazing rookie season, and his sophomore year wasn't quite as good, but he also only played 13 games that year. But week 2 of 2020, he goes out there and tears his Achilles, or actually I think it was ACL, but regardless, it broke my heart and it soured me from him for the foreseeable future. But now I'm coming back around. Last year, he had 3.9 yards per carry behind that garbage Giants O-line. And now he's behind a goated O-line. All right. Even with Jason Kelce gone, that Eagles unit is still extremely, very much so strong, right? I got faith in him. I got big faith. We've never seen him be behind a unit like that. So it's gonna be really, really great, I think. I'm excited for it. Last year, he went for 962 yards in 14 games. He's going to have less volume, probably. I mean, not probably, for sure. There were several games last year where Tommy DeVito was incapable of completing a pass, or Daniel Jones even, and they just ran Saquon into the ground, like insane volume. But even though he's going to have less volume with the Eagles, he's going to have way, way better opportunities. And like I said, having a good running back and a good rushing quarterback, that just it opens the offense a lot for options. So we'll see. We got a new OC in Philly and Kellen Moore, so hopefully he will not be an idiot and use Saquon, because they paid him all that money. They better use him, right? And I think they will. I think they're going to run the hell out of him as long as he can stay healthy, but maybe not the hell out of him because they want him to stay healthy, but better opportunities. I think he's going to make the most out of those opportunities, so I'm excited to see what he can do with the Eagles O-line in front of him. Okay, so number 3, I got Breece Hall, and not going to lie, Breece Hall is not my favorite player. All right, if I'm going to be real, only reason he's 3 is because he's younger and doesn't quite have the injury concerns that Saquon has, and frankly, the exact same thing for JT. And I would probably put Jahmyr Gibbs above him if David Montgomery was not in that backfield. All right, I know that's probably going to ruffle some feathers for sure. I don't know. He played a full 17 games last year, and he didn't even break 1,000 yards. Like, yeah, I know he was 6 yards away, but there were some games where he was getting insane volume because, like the Giants, the Jets quarterbacks were just not fucking capable of completing any passes. So they're just like, all right, here you go, Breece, fucking take her away. But I don't know. I have a hard time with him. I still think I need to see more because it's weird. Some of these games, it's like 4 attempts, 6 attempts, 7 attempts, 6 attempts, and then it's 37, 20, 22. It's weird. And he gets a fair amount of action in the pass catching game, which I think if they can do more of that he will be an actual top 3 in my rankings and not kind of just an asterisk next to it. But I don't know. I need to see the Jets figure it out. That's what I need, is I need to see them figure it out and learn how to use their fucking talent. I think part of my wariness towards Breece Hall, and frankly Garrett Wilson too, is just the fact that they play for the Jets. Like, I don't trust the Jets whatsoever to use their talent correctly. They seem to really, really struggle to do that. So it's hard for me to believe that they are going to just do that. But yeah, it's less of a personal thing against Breece and more that he plays for the Jets. He had 1,500 yards from scrimmage last year. Pretty good, pretty solid. He's certainly got that big play ability. Yeah, I do worry about his volume now that Aaron Rodgers is going to be back. I mean, we'll see what even happens there. Watch him get injured in the first game again, but I think that his volume might come down a little bit. So it's hard for me to take Breece Hall with a first-round pick. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, he's a young guy. He was hitting 3.43 yards after contact. He's a good player. I don't want anybody to, interpret that the wrong way. I think Breece is very good. I need to see more, man. I don't trust anybody on the Jets offense at this point. All right. Number 2, Bijan. 1,463 yards from scrimmage. Great. Super great. He was averaging 0.25 missed tackles per rushing attempt, which is good. That's tied for 5th in the league. And frankly, if you watch Breece, you saw him throw some insane jukes on people last year, break some fucking people's ankles. It's not hard to tell how extremely talented that dude is. And man, fuck Arthur Smith. I hate that dude. He made the Falcons so infuriating to watch last year. Like, yeah, Desmond Ridder wasn't very good, but holy shit, Arthur Smith, you fucking suck, bro. Oh yeah, let's throw it to Jonnu Smith every play. Oh yeah, it seems like a good time to bring Tyler Algier or Cordero Patterson out here. It's like, what are you doing? You just spent a top 10 draft pick on Bijan. Why are you not using him more? He's a complete weapon. Use him more. Which they're going to. All right, they got a new OC in Zach Robinson. And you've all heard the offseason buzz of, they're going to use him like Christian McCaffrey this season, which, Whew, if they do, that will be amazing. That might be a season for the books. I think that he could be really, really good. And Bijan got little to no goal line usage last year, so I think that his touchdowns are going to be up. I think his yards are going to be up. I think his receptions are going to be up. I think everything's going to be up, so I think he's an amazing pick, honestly. I personally would not do it, but if somebody took, I've seen this happen. If somebody takes Bijan over CMC or anybody else in the first round, it's like, all right, man, you do you. You're definitely shooting for the ceiling, the moon right there, but yeah, I can't get too mad at that. All right, and finally, number 1 is Chuba Hubbard. Yeah. No, it would be Christian McCaffrey, obviously. Led the league in rushing yards, led the league in total touchdowns, yards from scrimmage, total touches. What more do I have to say? All right, as long as he doesn't get injured, he's gonna be amazing. Amazing. And I know that once running backs get to that 28 range, they can just fall off a cliff, but he showed absolutely zero signs of regression, so it's not coming next year. All right, mark my words. That regression, it's not coming next year. Maybe the year after. Maybe we'll start to see some hints of it at the end of this year, but no, I have faith in Christian McCaffrey to be absolutely amazing again because he is an absolutely amazing football player. He's a threat all over the field. He can run routes, catch balls well, and yeah, we've all seen him rush like a fucking madman. Alrighty, so that was my half-point PPR running backs right there. Top 15 with a few honorable mentions. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know it wasn't the perfect list. I'm sure some of you have some disagreements, so let me know what they are in the comments without being a fucking asshole. Cheers, suckers. Till next time.